good morning here. This is like loud and clear so that everybody across the world can hear it very clearly and nice. Welcome everybody from wherever you are, and very especially the friends that are here in Shanti Mandir in the temple. It feels so nice to have the satsang in the temple with a group of people that we know, some people who come for the first time, to listen, to share, and to enjoy basically the sadhana that we do here. We have been studying the Spanda Karika's book during the whole year, and I was thinking that because Gurudev is coming at the end of the month, and we're going to have a break from this type of classes for 2 months, maybe to think, can we summarize everything we have learned during this year in just one phrase, so that we take it when we go from here and repeat it and imbibe it and really see if it makes sense to us. So I was thinking about that, and I thought maybe another book, like the Bhagavad Gita, would say, surrender to me. After all is said and done, and everything has happened, tragedy and laughter and war and everything is like surrender to me. So I would say the Spanda Karikas, the phrase is this, and see if you agree. Everything happens in Spanda. And the idea of this talk is to see how this happens, how it can happen for us, and how we can apply it every day so that it really becomes part of our life. So I found this sutra or karika. Many people call it sutras. I was very fanatic about, no, it's not a sutra. Well, it is. So it talks about approaching Spanda with reverence. And this word really caught my attention because I thought this is not a popular word today. Today, even the idea of respect, many people say, no, why should I respect? I'm independent, I can think whatever. Especially if tradition, it doesn't count, belongs in the past. So respect is a word that merits being analyzed because it's one of our phrases here with great respect and love. And what is this respect? So I went to my dictionary and then I found the word adar, which means care, interest, effort, and also reverence. And I was thinking, when we study, we approach everything with reverence because it is unknown, because it is difficult maybe. So when somebody is studying mathematics, like it was always my case that I was never good for that, you see the problem and then you go like, and there is a certain respect, there's a central concentration, there's a certain focus by which that knowledge will reveal itself to you. You make the effort of approaching or concentrating, of listening to your teacher, but in the end, it's like the book opens itself to you. And we had our experience in our own sadhana, because I once took a course in the Bhagavad Gita, a million years ago in Ganeshpuri, and we chanted an invocation. And then we studied Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and it has its own invocation, in which you like ask knowledge to reveal itself to you. And also we have one for Spanda Karikas. So we had to approach knowledge in that way that it will reveal itself to us. And it says here, Spanda merits or deserves to be studied with great reverence. We go through it, and then everything that happens around us must be approached in the same way. For example, people who do garden, who do flowers, you approach the flower because it's something so delicate, right? It's delicate, so approach it and you have to put this kind of fertilizer or this kind of water or this kind of environment. And little by little, you were like falling in love with the flowers. It happens. Then it becomes much more than just an object. It becomes part of the subject. So this is what Spanda explains. When you get into a type of interest or knowledge, it varies in its degrees. In the deeper the degree of interest or reverence, then it reveals more to you. So the second part, or rather the first part of the title of this talk, that is from awful to awesome,
It is because how do we convert the awful to awesome? And the word awe, like A-W-E, probably comes, I'm not so sure, but I read somewhere that it comes from the Golgor in Sanskrit, which means to cry in horror or to cause horror in others. Like what this horror is represented by different types of gods and goddesses, demons and stories, and even Shiva, who lives in the cremation ground. So every day when we chant the Shiva Mahimna, we may not have read this, but there is a culture, and there is a sadhana, and there is a path called Agori. And I'm going to talk a little about it, which consists in turning the awful into awesome. So verse 24 of the Shiva Mahimna says, "O destroyer of the God of love, O giver of boons, your play is in the cremation grounds." Smashan is the name for the cremation ground. Your companions are ghosts. You smear your body with the ashes of burned bodies and wear human skull as your garlands. This is Shiva. All your conduct is truly inauspicious, but you promote the greatest good for those who remember you. So he lives in the cremation grounds and practices the sadhana that is called Agori. So Agori is a person who lives in the cremation grounds and sits on corpses and then eats from the skulls of dead people, of course, not skulls of somebody living, of course. So that is to break the repulsion and the resistance to what is considered bad, to what is considered dirty, what is considered sinful, and then turn it into awesome. And that is maybe why there's sutra that says that everything in the land of yoga is awesome. That said, we sometimes may wonder why it's not everything awesome if we are this yoga. With all the yoga we practice and not everything is awesome. And maybe it's just the practice of approaching that which we consider not so good with reverence, with interest, with what is it? Where is it coming from? And it's coming always from Spanda, everything. So the question here would be, but what is this Spanda thing that we have heard so much about the whole year? It is a power. It is power. Not a power, it is power. It's the power of existence that was revealed before, last year, in the book Secret of the Siddhas, in the 333, that I'll never forget this. Baba explains it so perfectly. So Spanda is creation, is the power of existence, not why something exists, simply exists. Not even the word it. As we meditate deeply into Spanda, we eliminate I am Spanda, I goes away, am goes away, it goes away, and then only the vibration of Spanda remains. So when we do that, we discover that it's one thing, and then it uses its own power to create, we could say, like soft powers that we use also, but you can also watch it. For example, gravity. How is it, you may ask, that I can walk on the earth and I don't fly? What keeps me on the ground? It is a force called gravity, but it is calculated with such perfection by Spanda that we can walk, because it is one thing we stay there, and at the same time we can lift one foot and walk and run very fast sometimes. So when you see at the simple fact of walking, you can enter a state of awesome, because it is awesome. And how all these bones together create that movement. And somebody who cannot walk will appreciate it. As we did this morning when we had no power, and we appreciated what every day it is that you just push a button or this interrupter and you get all these services, which we don't appreciate because they're always there. When we think of electricity, what it is awesome. Then knowledge. Knowledge is a power. Not knowing anything about something, simply knowing. And knowing can come in many forms. It can be intellectual, but that is like the lower part, because it comes in form of intuition, and it comes in form of like when you say, I just know, so that is power. Wisdom and existence. Philosophers now are trying to decipher what it is, what is consciousness, etc. But I think of the three names that the self has, which is consciousness and existence and bliss. Existence is the one that resonates more with me, because bliss is just like too ethereal at the moment. And then we practice our sadhana and we begin to see something that it is neutral. It is totally neutral. It's not good and it's not bad. What it explains in Spanda is like a knife. A knife in the hands of a surgeon is magic. In the hands of a murderer, it can kill you. And it's the same weapon. So what happened with sadhana is that inevitably, it says here in chapter 3, inevitably will bring you superpowers. It will bring you siddhis. But what you do with those siddhis depends on how awake you are. If you're awake and you want to reach the highest, which is liberation, then you watch them, you see them, you thank them, and let them go. But people, if you get entangled in those, then it takes you down. So sadhana will uplift you, or bring you down. That is something really interesting that I found there. So why do we think that we do everything that we like and everything we don't like? And this can be the sadhana of every day. For example, the arts. Like I love going to museums, and other people also do that. Or dancing, or theater, or movies, or all kinds of shows. Why? Have you noticed how we expand? That is what happens. We like something, I mean, immediately we go out of this limited being, of this limited individual. I've seen people weep in the Sistine Chapel in Rome, like that, you know? You have no words. It's just so awesome. It's not just beautiful, it's not just grandiose, but when you think how it's done, then you just are immovable. Now, what happens? We would like to meet the creator, right? When the work is fantastic, we would like to meet the creator. So when we get in this awesome state, because of the practice, because of the meditation, because we contemplate deeply, we would like very much to meet the maker, the creator. And surprise, surprise, the creator is us. So how do we know that this is true? Because this is a truth that is very deep, that is very profound. And it sounds like no, but like if I want to make a tree right now, probably I can't. So how do we make this understandable to our limited intellect? Because it's quite limited. So the thing here is that Baba always said, know the knower. Witness the witness. Know the maker. In other words, eliminate the difference between the subject and the object. And if you don't remember the grammar, because that was a long time ago, it's like, for example, I drink water. I is the subject, drink is the verb, water is the object. So in this case, we eliminate the distance between the subject and the object through deep meditation. And in the meditation, we merge into that subject, and we are the subject. We don't become the subject because we are the subject already. We just like claim that identity of the subject. That is why, whether we like it or not, we fall in a state of reverence. You will feel it when you discover something like that. Some people have discovered practical uses for this. There's somebody called Viktor Frankl, who wrote several books about the objective of life. He was in a concentration camp in Nazi Germany, and he survived. And he said he survived because he wanted to tell the story, because the most powerful person is the storyteller, the one who was there and can tell what happened so nobody forgets. Viktor Frankl said, how can I continue to live after what I've gone through and seen other people go through? And he came with this, and I was so surprised. He said, I imagine them without their uniform. imagine them without the skin, without, like, gradually, okay? Without the muscles, without the bones, without their organs, because he was a doctor. And suddenly the quintessence, the essence of that person reveals itself to me, and it is I. And he was saying that, that is how he survived all these horrors. So I thought, oh, Spanda, because it is the same thing, go through the essence to the final base of the universe. Because Spanda is the essence. All the others, 4 essences that the Greeks mentioned, remember? So it's the same as always, no? Water, earth, wind, and fire. So these 4, even the Greeks, even the Egyptians, everybody said, okay, there's 4 substances that we use, and our body is formed by those substances, but there is a 5th one. And the 5th one, they call it the quintessence, which means in Greek, 5th. And that is the sustainer of everything. So, like, for example, in Vedanta, they ask, what is the world made of? What are the ingredients? Who made it? How did it come to be as it is? Everybody, sooner or later, we ask these questions. And then when you find the answer, it is not a thing. It is this power. Who made the world? You cannot say somebody. It's not somebody. It's the power of existence that made the world. And then the world, with what ingredients? With his own or her own ingredients, as it is explained in Spandakarika. The creator, out of her own free will, creates everything and projects it on its own screen so that we can see it, but it is just totally dependent on that projection. So we can use that in life because we say, okay, I'm going to go see a movie and I'm going to enjoy it so much. Why am I enjoying it? Because immediately, as soon as the magic starts with the lights dimming, and then the curtain opens or whatever, then you expand. You're no longer limited to this. You enter Salud, another world, the world of the movie, the mood of the play, the move of the concert. Like you have seen people come out of concerts, they're flying. But the basic thing that happens there is beyond enjoying, beyond understanding, beyond liking it, is expanding. So the practice that I thought is suggested here is go frequently or constantly to that point when we are expanded. So we are no longer dependent on the stimuli outside that will take us towards becoming expanded. But simply sitting there and probably memorizing that sensation or bringing it back again and then being expanded, and then the expansion will lead us to further expansion to things and situations that expands us. But Spanda, no wonder, is all about expansion. Even the 2 words sound similar. So that was this Viktor Frankl. There is one of the Karikas here that speaks about time too, about time. And the time that passes so differently from everybody to everybody, so slowly on fast. But it is really relative. It's as if you are with children and you tell them you're going to take them somewhere on Sunday, and they ask you, what day is today? It's Friday. So it says, it's Friday and Saturday, and then it's Sunday. And it seems so long. And then for us, it's almost the end of the year now, right? So that, to consider that when we do the meditation, because it says there, we will lose ourselves out of time. When you are meditating, you don't feel the time. You don't know it because it really doesn't exist. It is a measure that is totally, made by man, counting some factors. And it says here, when we are outside of time and space, then we are that. We must know that we must stay there. And when we come out, you could say, of the meditation, then we enter the limitation of time and space. then it is late, or there's little time, or there's cannot be two places at the same time, or all these things that happen in a relation with time and space. So this is a pretty profound, really, scripture. In verse 43, this says this: we observe that the desire of seeing the same consciousness pervade everything. The desire. What is my desire? We must make that a desire so that it's fulfilled. We observe that the desire of seeing the same consciousness pervade everything leads itself to a firm conviction. The firm conviction that you are that spanda. And focused practice of oneness with reverence results in our being established in the spanda. So it's just a matter of doing it in a focused manner with conviction and as long as possible, with great care. The objects of enjoyment, says here, it must be internalized. So no longer place our interest or our capacity to become happy or in awe or impressed in something that is happening outside, but it says here must be internalized so that the land of yoga becomes really full of wonder. Vismayoho yoga bhumikaha. So it means the land where we live, because we live in the land of yoga, must be full of wonder. It is something that somebody told me the other day, that in the land where Krishna lives, it's never too hot and it's never too cold. And when you see the world, what is happening outside of here, you see the wonder that is having the weather that we enjoy here, to put it in a very practical context. So, little by little, we make every action or every experience lead us to spanda. See, where is it coming from? I'm feeling sad. It's an emotion. Where is that emotion coming from? From my samskaras, from my karmas. Where are the karmas coming from? The karmas are coming from my past lives. Where are my past lives coming from? So really one has to become a little like that. And then you see, it's everything in spanda. It is like an ocean where things are floating, and we think that we have to claim one or another or another. But everything appears and disappears in spanda. So what I recommend here, you always remember that everything is in that ocean, that you are that ocean, and the objects will be there, and we have to deal with them. This never says that you forget your duties or that you live a life of, just meditating all day. But what it says is remember what is the source of everything, and the source of everything is spanda, is the creator, which is us. So, is spiritual life practical or is it not practical? We have to think if we can apply this to our everyday life, interpreting across mystical boundaries. So just trying everything to what we call the self. But I no longer want to call it the self, because the self sounds like a thing that you're going to discover, that you're going to see, that you're going to enjoy, or that you're going to worship or whatever. It's not other than us. So what it says, when you give it a name, as soon as you give it a name or a form, it is temporary and it's not us. At the end of this Spanda Karikas, the 50, it only has 52 verses, and I want to find it, the 52, where it talks about his guru. Very interesting. That such an intellectual person, at the end, the final karika, is called Salutation to Guru and His Word. The commentary says, from this energy, when it is all expanded, Unmesha, There arises in a very short time in the seeker Bindu, which is the form of light. So you become capable of seeing light, internal light. Nara, unstruck sound called pranav. Rupa, power to see objects in darkness. Rasa, taste of celestial nectar in the mouth. So all of these powers come and we can enjoy it, but never getting trapped in them. And you may be thinking, like I always think, am I capable of doing this? Like really, it's high. It requires a lot of willpower and discipline, etc. And I'm going to tell you a story that you probably haven't heard before, but I don't know, about Arjuna of the famous Bhagavad Gita. So they say that when we get together with the whole family, the other family, the cousins, they had this thing about, you know what, don't feed Arjuna in the dark. Don't let him eat in the dark. And nobody understood why, what is so special about the dark. So one day he was having his dinner, and a gust of wind blew all the lamps, and he was left in the dark. And he continued to eat his dinner in the dark. And he thought, if I can eat in the dark, why cannot I practice in the dark archery? Why am I wasting all these hours at night? It's just that I'm very lazy. So he became from being the most excellent archer to being perfect by discovering the destruction of one limitation in something so simple as being able to eat in the dark. So we can find the destruction of the limitation of believing that I can really do this, because it's just like eating in the dark. You know where your mouth is, and you know where the food is, so you just have to bring it to your mouth. I love this analogy, because it's so clear. It's beautiful. So then, when they wrote this book, it is commentary of the Shiva Sutras. So there's a lot of intelligent thoughts there, because not only was it a matter of interpreting it, but also to make it available, or accessible rather, to us, that we could understand everything. And I know that there will be 2 more talks, one in November, one in December, but I wanted to just bring this with everybody. Everything is in Spanda. And every time you see something and try to judge it in a way, bring it back to that it comes from there. That is all a creation of Spanda, of the Creator. And even you can find another word. You don't have to call it Spanda if it's too foreign. You find your own word in your own language. But the main thing is to know that everything comes from the same substance, the quintessence, the essence of life. So in the end, I was thinking, how does he end this book? And then he says, I offer my salutation to the speech of my Guru, which has beautiful words with wonderful meanings, which is like a boat that takes me across the unfathomable ocean of doubts. And there's another interpretation of this. I offer my reverential prayer to Spanda in the form of Parashakti, in the form of the great Shakti, Spanda, the supreme divine I consciousness, so the consciousness of I, no I am, but just I consciousness. So you offer your salutation actually to yourself, which is what happens when we pranam, and we don't see that to whom we are pranaming, we directly to the heart, right? So we pranam to ourselves, worship ourselves, etc., by recognizing that everything comes from there. It's very simple. It's like where does life come from? Comes from the ocean. Everybody knows that on Earth. So where does creation come? It comes from Spanda, from that vibration, from that capability or power of existence. So it says here, I offer my reverential prayer to Spanda in the form of Parashakti, the supreme divine I consciousness, which is full of wonderful transcendental bliss. So you can see that people try to find the words for this because it's so wow that there's no words for it. But he says, wonderful transcendental bliss, and which acts like a boat in crossing the fathomless ocean of doubt. So I finish with all doubts, because where can you doubt when you know that even the doubt is in Spanda? In the Lalita Sahasranam that we're going to chant in October every day, morning and evening, it says, Goddess, you are of the form of doubt. You are of the form of doubt. So doubt, when it comes also from Spanda. Mm-hmm. So we don't have to separate, okay, I have faith, how can I have doubt? It's like two sides of the same coin. And in a way, I think that Spanda invites us to go through, and like cut, when you're going in the jungle, and you cut all these weeds, so that you can keep on walking. Because that is the nature of this path that we are in. When we chant the mantras for the pujas, you say for that which is pure and impure, which is spoken about and unspeakable, which is subtlest and the opposite of subtlest, dense. Mm-hmm. So there is no contradiction. There is a writer that you maybe know because he's also, he draws beautiful illustration for his books, Devadut Patanak. And he once came here and he gave a discourse. And in the discourse, what stuck with me is that he says, in a culture so ancient as India, which was not touched by the icy stages, like when the whole planet was frozen, in the subtropical areas they lived. So therefore, ancient Egypt, Iraq, Iran, India, all these countries are old. Their culture is old, 4,000 years, etc. And so he says they have learned to live with the paradox, in the paradox, not having always to decide this right or wrong. This goes a little against our thought, but we can try. There's nothing to lose. So what he says here is that. No? We find it in the boat in crossing the fathomless ocean of doubt. And doubt, you know what? Also I remember that I like this. In Vijnana Bhairava, there is one of the dharanas that says, in a moment of doubt, when you go, what if in that moment that the self is there between the and the between the what if and the maybe, in that space, he says, find the self. So doubt has its qualities too. So it says crossing the fathomless ocean of doubt regarding my essential nature. So we have the doubt. Maybe I know the essential nature. Maybe I'm not the self. I don't think so. My defects, my limitation as a human being, individual, blah, blah, blah. Then that limitation is also Spanda. This is what it says here, is 42. You can look it up in your books. It is wonderful. And then finally, more or less, this verse is a tribute to the power of the guru-disciple relationship, which is our thing here in Shanti Mandir. The guru plays the essential role of making the complex world utterly simple. Isn't that the truth? I mean, where the students and Gurudev himself explains something, he says the guru plays the essential again, role of making the complex world utterly simple for the disciple by reducing everything in consciousness and awareness, everything to consciousness and awareness. So it's like sometimes Gurudev says, just be aware, stay aware. Against all the Vedas, all the books, all the scriptures that we don't have time to study because life is very short. Then he says, just be aware. So he says, the doubts of the disciple are reduced to consciousness and awareness. The disciple has a responsibility to have complete trust in the guru and accept that the truth could be so simple,
that is almost an anticlimax. And when you read a really exciting book and it ends in an anticlimax, this is the only case where this is a good thing, because the climax will be complicated. So he says, people perform fire sacrifices, ritual worships, penances, charity, do japa, repeat the Lord's name, and also go on pilgrimage to a holy place. But without understanding the Guru principle, people are wandering about in ignorance. Therefore, what it says here, the phrase for the year, no? Everything is in Spanda, is that we should find that essence in everything. Like a scientist that tries to find the cause for this illness. And so he gets his microscope and sits down for such a long time finding what it is, until he finds the essence of that which he's studying. It sounds, I don't know how it sounds. I love it. I think it's an answer hidden in this treasured Spandakarikas. So, I'm glad that I brought the story. I like it, the Arjuna story. We can learn to eat in the dark. It's easy. And then there's no doubts, there's no problems. And we will be back in November, no? With 2 more, what could it be, complements of the Spanda Karikas. So I hope you find this interesting. Everybody here has the book, and it's so great. You can just open it on any page and read whatever, and it's full of wisdom. So I feel very honored to share this knowledge and to study together with you, because once you read something in a group, it's really magical, right? Well, thank you very much for listening. Sagurnath Maharaj Ki Jai.